You can have the perfect strategy. The numbers can add up. The logic can be bulletproof. Your deck can look stunning. And still, you lose. Why? Because while you were obsessing over KPEs, org charts, and frameworks, someone else was having coffee, not with just anyone, but with the right person at the right time, talking about the right things, or maybe just laughing about something completely unrelated. Today's episode isn't about what looks strategic, it's about what actually moves strategy. And often, it's not the slide you built, it's the chair you sat in and who was sitting next to you. When people think of strategy, they picture war rooms, SWOTs, market data, execution plans. That's the public face of strategy. But let me tell you a secret. In every organization I've worked with, decisions didn't start with a spreadsheet. They started with a conversation. That idea that got greenlit, it wasn't the smartest one. It was the one that already had the support of three other departments because the right people had lunch 2 weeks ago. That budget that got cut, it wasn't because it didn't make sense. It was because the sponsor lost political cover after a quiet shift in loyalties. That leader that rose fast. They weren't just talented, they were included. And inclusion in the real game of leadership has less to do with formal power and everything to do with human connection. Let's be honest, org charts are comforting lies. They tell us who's supposed to be in charge. But if you've led long enough, you know that's not where the real power lives. Real power lives in patterns, in proximity, in frequency, in trust, and sometimes in a cup of coffee shared every Thursday morning. Think about it. Who are the people in your organization who always seem to know? Who are the ones others go to before they speak up in meetings? Who are the ones invited to everything, even if it's just a check in? These aren't coincidences, they're signals. If you're not paying attention to who drinks coffee with whom, you're missing the actual infrastructure of power. Here's an exercise I give to leaders in high stakes environments. Forget your strategy document for a moment. Take out a blank sheet of paper. Now draw your real map of influence. Not based on title, based on who trusts who eats lunch together, who shows up early, who stays late. Ask yourself who texts who after meetings, who gets the inside scoop before announcements, who protects who when decisions get questioned. These are the micro networks that actually determine your odds of success. Ignore them, and your ideas die in the prettiest PowerPoint imaginable. Read them well, and you'll see decisions forming before they're official. Let me tell you a story. There was a leader, we'll call him Daniel. He wasn't in the top circle, but he had a habit. Every morning at 7:45 a.m., he'd stop by the small kitchen on the ninth floor. That's where Helena from finance brewed her own coffee. They started chatting, first about random things, then about budget planning, then about gaps in visibility between teams. Over weeks, Helena started bringing Daniel into prep conversations. He got early visibility into funding priorities. He adjusted his proposals before others even started writing theirs. And when the next reorg came, guess who was already viewed as collaborative, solution oriented, and in sync with finance? It wasn't luck, it was coffee. You might be thinking, that's great, Sebastian, but what if I'm not invited to those coffees? What if you feel like an outsider? Let me say this clearly: power isn't given, it's grown. And the fastest way to grow it, start showing up where trust is built, not just where decisions are announced. Offer insight, ask thoughtful questions, protect someone's idea when they're being dismissed. Be the person others feel safe around, even if you're not yet seen as strategic. Because the truth is, no one becomes trusted by demanding it. Trust is extended in quiet moments, and it begins with proximity. So here's the truth I've learned from coaching hundreds of leaders across industries: the work of influence isn't loud, it isn't glamorous, and it doesn't happen in one meeting. It happens in the comment you make after someone else's presentation, in the way you advocate for a team that can't advocate for itself, in remembering someone's pressure before offering your ask. And yes, it happens in the decision to have coffee, not with the person who can approve your idea, but with the one who can champion it behind closed doors. So if you're working on a strategy, great. Make it excellent, make it smart. But don't forget the other side of the game, the relational intelligence that decides whether your brilliance gets backed. Look up from your notes. Pay attention to the rhythms, the invitations, the inside jokes. Forget strategy for a moment and look at who's drinking coffee with whom. That's where your real leverage begins. And if you want to master that game, not by manipulation, but by building trust, loyalty, and quiet influence, then I invite you to take the next step. Because in real leadership, the most strategic move is knowing when to stop playing the board and start playing the room.